First things first, obviously here to have a conversation as your time as Leicester Tigers head coach has come to an end. Before I ask you about it all and go through a couple of memories, I want to take you back to the very first time we sat down. You gave me a quote at the time which was, we're going to be a team that are very clear on how we're going to play and we're going to build to be a team that works hard for each other. Is that what Leicester Tigers are now?
I think so. I think we've come some way on that journey. I think the way the team plays is always evolving. You're always trying to improve it, and that's a necessity in elite sport. But I think the team's got a clear identity, and I think the players fight for each other. I think that you see they're a tight group. You see how hard they work, and I think you see how proud they are of being a team.
You came in midway through a pandemic. That's not different to what every other team was facing in terms of having to deal with COVID-19. But there was, to be blunt, a hell of a lot of changes at the club at the time from the moment you'd signed on to actually arriving. Those unplanned changes, players leaving, no supporters, a return of supporters, cancelled games, and then other challenges that have come in along the way. Are they a measure of success when you look back, putting results aside, the way this group, yourself, the coaching team, got through them?
Yeah, well, I think the credit's the players and the management team around the squad, who each of those challenges you just got to find a way to overcome it. There's been no opportunity to make excuses, or been no decision to use things as excuses. Guys have just got on with it. And that's created where we've had teams changing on the morning of the game. We've had games cancelled, going into games we won't know if it's going to go ahead or not. All kinds of things like that. And the players have just worked really hard to come through that.
73 players have debuted underneath you. 40 of them in the Prem or European rugby. The squad that you've built and is still being built, how proud are you of those players?
Well, I think the squad, it needed to change. It needed to evolve over that period of time. The balance with that is always cohesion. You've got to make changes, but the players need time together, getting to know each other, and how well they learning to play with each other in combinations. Now, the squad has evolved. You can go back to that starting point. We would sign players from all around the world and to build the team. I mean, we were struggling to get the players into the country because of the travel restrictions at the time. But over that point, I think you've seen a lot of young players come through. The squad evolving, it's a continuous thing. But I think what you do see here is a really high group of young players of really high quality who are very, very close to each other. They certainly feel very connected. And I think with that, the future is very exciting for Leicester Tigers.
The older blokes, though, as well, that have played a part, how much of a support have they been to you? Your Dan Coles, your Ben Youngs, where have they kind of played that role in helping bring the young guys through?
Well, I think when you're coaching the younger players, some of them in their first experiences in professional rugby, they're learning and they just want to pick up more knowledge. The players who've played a lot more years, those players, you're asking them to do things differently. You're asking them to do things, they've done things for a long time a certain way, and now you're asking them to do it differently. And it's brave of a player to say, well, I've been doing this for a decade, and now I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to train differently. I'm going to think about the game differently. I'm going to try new things. That's a real brave decision for the players to make. And those senior players, those experienced players, they've just embraced it, and I'm really grateful to them for that.
Back in July 2020, we talked about probably changing the assessment of where the club was at and being a bit more realistic in terms of supporters and the rugby community. That's, I think, where we unearthed the word journey, which you would have said a million times in nearly 2.5 years. Where is the club on the journey from where you set out to be?
Well, I think we made progress. I think it's clear the team's made progress, and everybody who's been involved has got to be very proud of it. And I'm really grateful to the players and management staff for all the work they've put in to try and make that progress. And Now, I think that the ceiling on this team is still a long way away from where we are now. I think there's a huge amount of growth. I think that the team will continue, as the guys play more rugby together and get to understand each other more, I think the team will grow. I think this group of young players are all 20, 21, 22. As they start playing more games and they start getting to that mark of 100 games, I think you'll see them just gradually get better and better and better. So I think there's a huge upside for this team.
You, quite famously, we spoke about the fact that you sent a group home in one of your first weeks, or you told them to get off the training pitch. This was a team that, at the time, maybe accepted standards like that. The question I want to know is, have you ever done it since? Or was it the one and only time? And have the standards then been raised by the players?
I think the standards, one of the things you've got to do is have really clear standards. And what I was actually reflecting it just a couple of days ago is that there's something happened in training, and I deliberately stood back and watched how it was handled with the players, and they just dealt with things. They just dealt with it. There wasn't even a need for me to go over to it and be involved in it. Players understand the standards. The players are driven to try and keep improving. I think that the players drive themselves. I think they're proud of what they've done over this period of time, to come from being where the team was to then being a team that competes towards the top end of the league. The players are proud of that, I think.
Well dodged. Development, progression, two big words, and two big words that are important. I know you don't like singling guys out, but when you look at someone as examples like Guy Porter, Harry Potter, they come to the club during a pandemic. They leave their families in Australia. They've never played Super Rugby. They've never played senior professional rugby. One's at England International now. Both are premiership winners. They've played 50 games. Ironically, on the same day, they can't seem to do anything apart for the club. Are they a marker of what this group's about?
I think that there is a multitude of examples you could use of people who demonstrate what this club's about, what this team's about. Those are two, Guy and Harry. So they were willing to move around the world during a pandemic to join a club that was doing pretty badly, with a head coach they'd never met. I called them and did FaceTimes with them, but they didn't know me, but they were willing to come and do that. And then they came to this side of the world and then ripped straight in and have been tremendous. And then you start looking at it, like 50 games is actually not a huge number of games. You see, right? So these are young men, and we think that they've played a lot together. They haven't, no, but they're going to play a lot more together. And I think if they do that, they're going to get better and better and better.
11th, 6th, 1st. Challenge Cup semi-final, Challenge Cup final, Heineken Champions Cup quarter-final. And then obviously the cherry on top with the premiership. Would you say it's been successful? As much as I know you hate to discuss that.
Well, I think how you measure success, I think the team has grown. I think the team is one that the supporters are proud of. I think the players have seen players achieve incredible individual honours. The team has managed to compete in finals, for trophies, and managed to win the premiership. And now the team fights in every single game. So I don't know how you define what success is, and everyone will probably define that in a slightly different way. If I said, what did I want when I came in here? I wanted to help players. I wanted to help players achieve their ambitions. I think we've been successful through that. Did I want to make a team, help build a team that the supporters could be proud of, and the players and their families would be proud of? And I think we've gone a long way down that route as well.
We've probably had more conversations than you would have hoped in that time, over 2.5 years. Hard work, effort, and learning are the three that I reckon you've said every single time we talk. How do you define those three characteristics? What do you want to see Or what have you seen in this group that have shown you that they've taken those three on?
Well, the word is not said, but I think it's the one that's displayed there is the fight. The players fight. They go out every game and they fight hard. We're never perfect. We're a long way from being perfect, but they fight. And sometimes we win, sometimes we don't, and occasionally we draw. But the players fight and they care deeply.
You said when you arrived, this is a great club with a fantastic fan base, and you were reflecting as a player with Bath and Saracens. I've asked you about the players. Did the supporters live up to your expectations?
The supporters have been incredible. We missed them. We missed them a lot when they weren't in the ground. We knew they were with us. We couldn't hear them, but we knew they were with us. And getting them back in the ground has been amazing. And everywhere we've gone, the supporters have been. Whether the supporters down in Bayonne when we won our first game in France in 7 years, to then the supporters that travelled out to Clermont, to Bordeaux, to supporters that were in Swansea at the weekend, to everywhere. They follow us, they come with the team and cheer them on. The supporters have been incredible, and I'm very grateful to them, and I thank them for everything they do for the team.
You talked about the away wins in Europe, or take you back to Clermont, or talk about the win in Bristol a few years ago with Guy Porter, funny enough. Is there one that sticks out? I mean, there's obviously a premiership day and a premiership final and all that. Is there one that sticks out as, it might even be a loss or a draw, but one that you saw the team you wanted to see on the day?
We spoke about the first game was extra away against a tremendous team. I think we lost 26-13, and it was by no means a great performance, but crikey did they fight. And thought then, right, well we've got a lot of work to do, but there's a core behaviour that now these guys will fight. And then a game, it's hard to pick out individuals. Bordeaux away, the way the players played a game plan that was different, tried to play a different way, and the players just said, okay, we'll try. And they went and had a real go, and they, against a team that was top of the top 14, and we had young players playing early in their careers, and 30,000 people screaming, and the players just went at this almost gladiatorial atmosphere. You walk for about, it's a 5-minute walk from the change rooms in this underground tunnel that goes to the pitch, and then there's this noise, 30,000 people, and then you've got the Leicester Tigers, the enclave of Leicester Tigers supporters, and seeing the joy in the players when they won that last penalty to win the game. That was tremendous.
You've grown a huge passion for Leicester Tigers. Did you ever think 3 years ago when you first agreed, you're arriving in 6 months, you're still with England at the time, did you ever think someone who played for Bath, played for Saracens, two teams that typically the club had gone against hard for years, you would have this level of attachment to Leicester Tigers?
Oh, I think as a person, I'm all in. When you go, you've got to be all into it. So I give everything I could to the time here at Leicester Tigers, and certainly it's always going to have a place in my heart. The people here have been just incredible. So and Matty Hollywood's Welford Road, what an atmosphere, what a ground. And so I'm going to look forward to returning to the ground, and I'll be up in the stand watching as a spectator, but certainly there'll always be a bit of my heart here.
So final question, back to that very first interview. You said you always wanted this team to be a team that was a tough game, a hard game for the opposition to play against, home, away, you didn't care. Have they done that?
I think playing against us, I think people know they're in for a tough game. We've got lots to work on, lots to improve. I think there's plenty of growth in the team, but I think playing against Leicester Tigers, I think it's how it used to be and how it always should be. It's a tough game against Leicester Tigers.
Congratulations. Good luck.